That's West YouTube. It's your boy Big Ray West. You tuned in to GFG TV.
This is Juno, and you're tuned in to GFG TV.
Here we go.
All right, there we go. Actually,
so the original Dream Team, Olympic team. What do you remember about them?
I guess the biggest thing I remember about them is that was everybody's favorite players at the time. You know, your Charles Barkleys and Michael Jordans and all that. Those were your favorite players to somebody. The guys with the actual shoe with their name on it type guys, you know, and it just was that it's exactly what it was. It was the dream team. The dream team.
So if you could compare 90s NBA to today's NBA, how would you compare that?
Today's NBA is extremely skilled and talented. You see big men stepping out and playing a position of center outside of the arc. It's just a totally different skilled game. In the 90s and back before this new era of three ball, it was more of a grind, you know, more of that East Coast kind of game where you were banging a little more and not every little ticky-tacky foul was being called. So it's just a huge difference. It's a huge difference between the two games.
You ever been to an NBA game?
Yes, I have. You know, I try to go see my Spurs a few times. Went to see them in Minnesota. Went to see them in San Antonio. But my first game, we caught a bus. I don't know if y'all remember Mort's Barbershop, but they put a bus trip together, and we went up to Minnesota, and we seen a game. You know, it wasn't the greatest game, but we were there, so that was my first game going to.
Do you remember what year that was?
Oh, man, I couldn't tell you that. It probably was early 90s. It could have been 90, 92, 91 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Utah Jazz. So that was my first game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Michael Jordan The Last Dance documentary?
I watched some of it, and I feel like I'm probably the only person that didn't watch it. But I'll say this, when you start watching it, it's definitely an intriguing watching it. There's some inside shit that, you know, it's interesting. So go ahead and watch it if you haven't.
Nice. College basketball? You get into that much?
College basketball, not a ton. I'm a professional sports guy, but you know the games be on and I be checking them out. Shout out to the Hawkeyes this year. They're actually ranked 4th right now. So, you know, looking forward to the March Madness coming back. You know, I'm the guy that at work is walking around handing out brackets to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I do some college basketball, but kind of tune in a little more during March Madness. You know what I mean?
You follow any players? See any talent coming up?
I mean, right now, and we're talking strictly college, and I'm going to stick with the Hawkeyes. Luka Garza's balling right now. He's balling. He's a man amongst child, and you can see the work that he's put in to be the player that he is. So.
Nice. How about Drake? You ever attend them?
Yes, I used to go to a lot of Drake games. Used to be just walking distance from the Knapp Center. So check the schedule, see if they're playing, and just walk, go to a Drake game. It's been a while since I've been, but I've been to several. I mean, that's my squad, DMI. You know, that's Drake.
Nice.
Right in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? So yeah. And big ups to Drake this year. Last I checked, they were undefeated about 14, 15 games in. So, you know, big ups to Drake. The Missouri Valley. That's where we're from. That's where we're at.
How about any high school?
You know, high school, it's one of those things where you check out your nieces and nephews and sons and daughters and stuff. I had a niece come through Urbandale probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago when she was a freshman playing with varsity. Pryor, you know, took her team to the state championship and put a show on. That all 8 of those teams had girls that put a show on at an Iowa State championship. And if you were there, if you happen to be watching this, you remember that state championship tournament because they put on a show for us.
Nice. You ever play fantasy basketball?
Never did fantasy basketball, but I'm the type of guy that if anybody want to put a league together, it could happen. So, they heard me.
Where were you, and you remember when Kobe Bryant passed?
Yes, I do. I was home just watching games and stuff, and then I probably didn't even have the volume up, right? But I'm watching a game, and then I just start like seeing like a whole bunch of Kobe Bryant highlights or whatever, and then I see Kobe Bryant, 1984 to 2019 or whatever, and I'm like, that only means one thing, you know what I'm saying? And so now I'm tuning in, and man, I was hurt. Rest in peace, Kobe, Vanessa. Like, man, that's still, when you mention that still is kind of touchy. Like, that still makes you feel that sorrow right there. So rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Truly one of the greats.
Definitely, rest in peace.
Yeah.
How'd you get into WWE, professional wrestling?
Oh, Lord. You might be talking about my favorite sport of all time, man. So growing up, man, you would grow up watching Saturday morning cartoons and all this, and wrestling was one of those things that would come on at about noon or whatever. And it just took a hold of me, and I was a cat with, 30 big rubber wrestlers in the ring, and just in my room playing all by myself with wrestlers, man, for hours at a time. And I did that probably way too long. I'm in high school, 9th grade, playing with my wrestlers, bro, because I love the shit.
It was different back then for me too. I mean, I was a big WWE fan in that whole generation. Like it was like a soap opera style, to where, you know what I mean, in the addiction. You know what I mean? I wouldn't give it any other references close to that, but like you were tuned in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
in.
Like if you missed something, because you've been waiting, because they drop little Easter eggs on like in different parts of the episode. So if you didn't tune in, you didn't catch some of that stuff, like you're missing out. You know what I mean? That was the what would that be called? Like like the water fountain conversations type. You know what I mean? Like, so you have a little short conversation growing up.
Yeah.
That was huge. I mean, I remember even when The Rock came out, it was first, and they really started pushing him as The Rock.
Yeah.
Instead of his original Dwayne Johnson, because of his dad.
Yeah.
Which was something a lot of people didn't know too, that his dad was just as famous, and for
When
his
The Rock
time.
came out, though, he was Rocky Maivia.
Rocky
Maivia.
Maivia. Yeah.
Rocky Maivia.
Yeah, I do remember he wasn't The Rock originally, but it's been so long, man.
Yeah. There's another wrestling aficionado in the room too, you know what I'm saying? So he could fill you in on some stuff better than I could even, So yeah, definitely.
So favorite wrestler?
Favorite wrestler, man, I have to say it, man, it's the Hawkster, man. Just growing up, he was that thing that grabbed a hold of you, that guy that you wanted to rip his shirt and shit, you know what I'm saying? The hero, you know what I'm saying? So, I am a real American. And it just felt like he never lost, you know what I'm saying? He always prevailed, you know what I'm saying? So, growing up, man, it was the Hawkster.
He was, movie star, everything.
Movie star, no holds barred, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? He was big time Rocky. You know what I'm saying? Thunder Lips or whatever he was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you attended a WWE event?
The first time, so I remember Dad took me one time, and
Was it WWE?
it was WWE when we was little, but I remember it, enough, loved it. We'd go to Vets Memorial Auditorium, you know what I'm saying? They'd always make their trip through. Pops took me, and obviously I was loving it, you know what I'm saying? So, get to see some of your favorite wrestlers in person, and I still do try to attend some wrestling, to be honest.
I'd go.
Yeah,
I'd go in a heartbeat. Who won the Monday Night Wars, WWF or WCW?
It was WWE that won it. Big Bank take Little Bank. You know what I'm saying? But I was a WCW man because at that point, a lot of your older WWE guys that were kind of getting pushed out from the new era in the WWE to move in went to WWC or WCW, and that's where I was at, kind of rocking with my old heads. So,
how you feel about NWO?
The NWO was a bunch of punks, okay, and they even took my man Hulk Hogan, turned him into Hollywood, and it just wasn't the same. There was that little bit that, yeah, okay, that's the Hulkster when you see him, but it just wasn't the Hulkster that I knew, and I wasn't a huge fan. But as time went on, you started to realize they started picking up the Macho Man, and they started picking up Kevin Nash, and doing these things that made you kind of be like, okay, maybe it is NWO time. So by the time it was over, I was NWO, yes.
It was such like a long storyline too. I mean, and the amount of people that went into it, like, didn't Shawn Michaels even eventually become into NWO?
I'm not sure with Shawn Michaels. He might have stayed WWE and stayed with the Generation X or whatever it was.
They brought NWO to WWE though.
They brought it to WWE.
They brought it to WWE.
Okay.
I know it was big. It was
Yeah.
a big movement.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the storyline of it as well. It was just something to be a fan of.
Yeah.
How did Hulk Hogan usage of racial slurs affect you as a fan?
West YouTube, this your boy Big Ray West. You tuned in to GFG TV.